freestyle travel. Hey everybody, Kenny Flannery here, as always, your host, drinking a beer in some beautiful part of Vienna, Austria, which is easy to find because this whole city is like a museum. It's ridiculous. From the landscaping to the architecture to everything. Pretty amazing spot, but this episode is going to be about hitchhiking through the Balkans. Could be the police right now. I don't know what kind of Looney Tune freaking sirens I got over here. But I was in a high-speed police chase, which is, I think the first, there's been a couple, but I was actually in one high-speed police chase with the cop in California, but I've told that story before. But yeah, I was in a high-speed police chase after crossing the border. Almost got knocked into a ditch in that situation. So I got that story for you. I dodged the police yesterday. That was nice. Wound up on the news in Kosovo. Stayed at a few hostels. I think I have a pretty good hostel pro tip now. Yeah, the Balkans. Pretty nice. Pretty affordable. Saw some beautiful stuff. Beautiful hike. So yeah. Bunch of hitchhiking, friendly people, all kinds of stuff. I got a bunch of stories for you. I'm excited for it. Gets us from Turkey to here in Austria, and then what's coming up next should be pretty fun as well. I'm excited about all of it. Got a whole stack of Magic Mind waiting for me as well. I wanted to mention that again, as always, as I've been mentioning lately. Magic Mind it's a mental performance shot. It's good stuff. Been bringing it up, telling everybody about it, even off the podcast, because it's good stuff. I like it. It's a little shot you can take, drink it in one sip or a few with your coffee, without your coffee, and just helps you focus a little bit better throughout the day, and you don't get the crash and stuff that you can from coffee, or like the psycho crash you get from like energy drinks, which can be fun sometimes too. But this is good stuff, and unlike energy drinks or coffee or whatever, it actually gets better as the days and weeks go on. So sort of a cumulative effect. Really like that about it. I've mentioned before that I used it literally when it synced hand in hand when I started getting into coding again. So it was pretty perfect. It was a perfect little task to be drinking some Magic Mind on, is staring at a computer screen, trying to figure out problems, logic problems, and stuff like that. It really helped me just stay focused and not run away screaming from the computer. Why isn't this working? No, I was able to focus and think things through and get things started, get back into coding again. So Magic Mind, really good ingredients. Always encourage you guys to look into those ingredients, because it's each one is kind of a rabbit hole in its own. Stuff like turmeric. You ever go down the turmeric rabbit hole? It's like, you should drink or have turmeric with pepper and stuff. It's like, these Magic Mind people, they've done all the math, all the ratios as far as like what goes well with what, and created this awesome little drink. A bunch of matcha tea. It's kind of the base. It's delicious, so I recommend you try it, and they gave me a code if you want to get a little discount. So you can go to magicmind.com/freestyle show and use the code FreestyleShow20, FreestyleShow20, and get 20% off. And you can either get a subscription, which is what I've got going on, going to the place in Phoenix. That's why I'm excited to get there, possibly in the next few months. Or you can, just get like a one-time thing and give it a try. A little 3-pack or whatever. 20% off. Yeah, magicmind.com/freestyle show with the code FreestyleShow20. Give it a shot. And, maybe you can help me code some trip hopping, because that's what it's looking like might be going on here early next year. In Arizona, a little trip hopping collective. If you haven't gotten on trip hopping yet, go ahead and do it. It's totally free. It's just triphopping.com. It's the travel app that I've been creating that sort of organizes all sorts of couch surfing, rideshare, hitchhiking stuff, and also gives you ways to meet up with people real time, kind of go live when you're traveling, see who else is live, and see if they want to either give you a ride hitchhiking, grab a beer, grab a coffee, all that stuff. Check it out. And if you really like it, you'll find a way to get the Android app as well, just by looking on the site. You should be able to find that now. But that's what's up. So let's jump right into the Balkans, hitchhiking around. Alrighty, so the last episode I was in Istanbul, staying with a Trust Roots host, recording an episode at his apartment there, and the goal was to go to the Balkans. Schengen visa, I'd used like 88 of my 90 days, so gave me 2 days to get across Bulgaria, which just joined the Schengen zone this year, actually. Kind of annoying, maybe kind of convenient for some people, but in my case, kind of annoying. I was like, all right, I wanted to try to get across it in just 1 day, and I was able to. So I hitchhiked out of Istanbul. It took a little bit. I used the last of my Turkish lira to get one last dinner meal and take the a little subway up to the airport, which is the outskirts of the city. Hitchhiked from there. It took a little while to get a ride, but worked out, and then couple rides actually. Got a ride from a truck driver who was going all the way to the border. So that was kind of perfect because we got to the border at dark, and I'm like, this is ideal because I'll just camp here at the border, and that way certainly get across Bulgaria in a single day. Stamped in, stamped out at the same day. That was the goal. So it was surprisingly easy to find a place to camp by the border. So that was cool. No friction there. And yeah, just walked over the border the next day. No real issues. Started walking and pretty quickly got a ride from a truck driver who was going the distance. He was going, actually just right up to the border of Serbia. So couldn't have asked for a much better ride. Along the way, somewhere in Bulgaria, like a traffic cop jumped out in front of the truck. This is an 18-wheeler. And they had this little flag thing. Like, it's kind of dopey. And the driver was like, fuck. So we pull over. And the cop comes up to my door, opens up the door. So the driver reaches across me and hands the cop, like, his passport and what looked like some documents. Cop looked at it. He kind of kicked my shoe and I guess asked who I was. And the guy told him, not to worry about it. And so the cop hands back the documents and off we went. And the driver explained that he put a 20 € note sandwiched with all the documents, and that's all the cop was really trying to do, is just stand out there and be corrupt, taking bribes from people. Like, okay, that's how they do it some places, here included. So just noted for the high-speed chase story later. That's sort of a technique that cops have of just jumping out in the road with this little flag thing. Kind of lame. So he dropped me off at the border of Serbia. Walked across. Some dude asked me to empty out my bag. A little bit annoying, but not a big deal. So emptied out my bag just because I stood out a little bit. I was the only person on foot, not like coming out of a bus, So, emptied out my bag, asked me about a few things, drone stuff, and whatever. I just had to repack that and move along. Got a ride from another truck driver, and he was going to Niš, a little city in the south of Serbia. And Serbia has a good vibe to it. Pretty chill. Nikola Jokic, the Joker, is from Serbia. I've been through Serbia once before, but didn't really spend much time or anything, so it was cool to just kind of check it out a bit more. Want to go back, actually, now, again, get up to Belgrade. But this time around, I was just in a Niš. Take a sip of beer here. I'm drinking a Wieselberger beer, Austrian beer. So, Niš. I got to Niš and walked around a little bit, found a brewery pretty quickly, as I do, to ponder my situation, and it already started kind of raining, which I didn't expect, and then started raining harder. So I was like, maybe not the best night to be camping. So I looked around. There was a $10 hostel. I'm like, all right, I'll do that. So started walking towards the hostel. I saw this awesome kiosk where they're just cooking these big sausages, huge hunks of meat, rolled up chicken stuff with peppers in it. And I was like super excited to chow one of those. They were pretty cheap too. Looked like $1 or $2, you know? Fuck yeah. But they only took cash, and I didn't have any of the cash in the currencies. I'm like, God damn it. That's happened a few times lately. I just, at this point, I don't have a way to get any cash. I have to use the card that I've got. Yes. My card that has ATM access doesn't have enough, and it doesn't even work in every single country at this point. So I was like, damn it. So I walked to the hostel, which happened to have a little beer garden below it. So yeah, they happen to have some cheap sausage there too. I could pay with the card. And a beer that was better than the one I had at the brewery, but also like a Serbian beer. So that was cool. And yeah, got checked in, and they were super friendly there. Just basic kind of hostel. Met some girl from the UK. She said she'd been mostly traveling for the last 12 years. She spends maybe 4 or 5 months in the UK every year, I guess, and the rest traveling around. So yeah, just talked to her and some other random people, and got some decent sleep out of the rain. That was cool. And the next day I was gonna come on down to North Macedonia. Take a sip of beer here. So yeah, just at this point I'd already gotten this ticket out of Austria, which I'll tell you at the end. So sort of have a timeline here of a couple weeks or whatever it was, week or so. So making moves down to Skopje. So I thought about hitchhiking directly into Kosovo, because I hadn't been to Kosovo before. But the border there is a little bit sketchy. It's not always open. Serbia and Kosovo have had their problems, I guess. So sometimes there's like protests, sometimes there's fighting, I guess. Maybe not too often, but sometimes it's just closed arbitrarily. And everyone I talked to was giving me different answers, and some people were saying, yeah, you might get there, and might be open, might not. And there's really no way to know until you get there. So I'm like, all right, I'm not going to deal with that. I'll go into North Macedonia and cross into Kosovo from there. So I've been to Skopje in the past. I've been to this whole general area in the past. So, yeah, hitched on down that way. Another 18-wheeler ride right to the border. Hopped out of his truck, because waiting in line at borders and trucks is kind of... There's no point. They sometimes go through some more checks than normal cars, so it can take a lot longer than just being on foot. So, yeah, thank that guy for the ride, and popped out. And they were kind of funny going to North Macedonia. Like, the dude stamping me out, I guess he hadn't seen too many people on foot, and he's just like, you're just walking? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, no mushrooms or weed. And like, he wasn't really asking me like a border guard. Like, he was asking me like, you're walking this whole way without any mushrooms or weed? What's wrong with you? I was like, yeah, dude, I don't know if this is a trick, but no, I got no mushrooms or weed. He's like, all right. I almost felt like he was gonna like give me like a charity handful or something. Like, all right, dude. But yeah, so that border was easy. And on the other side of it, after walking, I don't know, a kilometer or two at the most, got a ride from a dude who said he was going to Skopje. So I was like, oh, cool. It's not that far from the border. So we're cruising along, and sure enough, another one of those kind of police with these little flaggy flag, jumps out to try to, pull us over on foot. It's just, I don't know, it's so goofy to me. But the driver, who didn't really speak any English, he just decided to keep driving. So now we're driving, and we're going faster, and I'm like, did I read that right? Like, did we just try to get stopped by the police and just drove through it? And then we're driving like real fast, and I'm like, I think we're out running the police right now. Like, we almost hit a parked car, and then we like super narrowly passed like 3 cars. Just, yeah, kind of nuts. And I'm like, man, yeah, we're definitely I was like, I wonder if they even came to chase us. Like, it's clear that we're like, yeah, something's going on. But I'm like, I wonder if the police actually start chasing us, or if he just thought, just in case they did, I might as well get super far ahead. But then next thing I knew, the mirror on my side, the side view mirror, was kind of at a weird angle, kind of busted. So I couldn't really see if anyone was behind us. But the next thing I knew, just right on our left was the cop. Fucking caught up to us. And he still wasn't, like, stopping, you know? And then the cop, like, almost, like, tried to knock us into the ditch, you know? Like, he swerved as if he was gonna. And then I think that little maneuver scared the driver I was with enough to be like, all right, I guess I should stop. Like, yeah, dude. Like, we're God. We're in the country. They're right on top of us. Like, we were probably, like, I don't know, 5 seconds away from that cop just getting impatient and just knocking us into a ditch. So we stop. Cop jumps out of the car. He pulls right in front of us. Pretty upset, as you can imagine. And I'm sitting there, I got shit. So driver gets out of the car. He's yelling at the cop. I wish I could understand what they were saying. But and then next thing I know, the cop comes over to the window and is just like, documents. I'm like, fuck. So I hand him my passport. And he immediately, like, goes back to his car and then gets in and starts driving. So I'm like popping out of the car real quick, backpack and all, because it looks like he's doing a U-turn. He's like gonna drive away. I'm like, what? Dude, there's no way I'm spending my day trying to track my passport down. Like, I'm about to jump in front of this cop's car or something. And luckily he pulled over on the other side of the street. I don't know what the hell is going on. But so I walked over to the car, and then he's yelling at me, the cop, and he spoke a little bit of English, but I just spoke really fast, did not enunciate, and pretend like I couldn't understand him. You know, that's the move right there. That's the strategy, and it worked because he lost his confidence in speaking English and lost patience and handed me my passport back. I don't know. He was trying to be like, why did you do that? You know, like, you didn't see me, like, trying to stop you. And he did this X thing with his arms and stuff. I'm like, what? So he just said go. I'm like, I'm going. So he handed me my passport back. I just started walking down the road, country road, wide open space, you know. And now I'm like really hoping to hitch a ride before, you know, cop wants to talk to me again for some reason. Take a sip of beer here. So I'm trying to hitch a ride, you know, but you know, can't really try much harder than sticking your thumb out. Trying to harness a little bit of Jedi energy. Maybe 10, 15 cars pass. 5 minutes later, the same guy who I was in the chase with picks me up. I'm like, whoa, dude. So he was able to explain to me in his broken English that he paid the cop 200 euros. 200. It's quite a bit. But I guess considering he's tried to outrun him, like in police chase, I guess that's cheaper than the alternative of going to jail or whatever else could have happened. So, still sucks. I think if we had just stopped in the beginning, he probably could have only had to pay 20 corrupt euros like the truck driver the other day. But yeah, 200 euros. So he was not stoked about that. Seemed like he was taking it kind of okay, but yeah, not stoked. But he took me all the way to Skopje after that. It was only another 15, 20 minutes to the city. So that was the police chase of the day. He dropped me off in the city, walked around there. I'd already been there before, seen some of the stuff. Kind of been striking out with some of the Be Welcome, Trust Routes, couch surfing stuff, all that. So, yeah, once again, not there. Taking another sip of beer. But, yeah, luckily, hostels down there are cheap. Because in the middle of the city, it was going to look a little tricky to camp. I probably could have walked out more and found a spot. But like a $9 hostel, something like that. I was like, all right, I'll do that. It's not an interesting hostel. No one was there to really chat too much. A couple people. So it was really just to get in there, take advantage of the power, Wi-Fi, place to sleep, shower, and get on out in the morning. So in the morning, the goal was to go to Kosovo, which I was excited about because, like I said, I hadn't been there. Been to just about every country in Europe. There's probably some islands and stuff I haven't been to. But yeah, Kosovo's on the list. Yeah, pretty interesting place, as it turned out. So yeah, it took a while to walk out of Skopje. I think I walked more than 2 hours. I said it was downtown. That's part of the reason I didn't like camp right away, because it was just right in the thick of the city. I did go to a brewery that night before too. Try to make a point of going to a brewery everywhere I go. So that one was mediocre by European standards, so not good by world standards. But it's all right. Anyways, yeah, it took a long time to walk out. Finally got a ride from these guys who were going over the border, and I think they might have known the border guards or something, because there was a line of cars like over an hour long, and normally I would have gotten out and walked, but they were going like much further. So yeah, they just decided to drive around all those cars and drive just right up to the front and waved at a couple border guards, exchanged a few words. So I don't know, they must have known somebody. So we crossed easy. They took me a little ways further up, not quite to Pristina, which was the city I was trying to go to. Sort of in the middle, not knowing too much about it, just seeing that's the big city. Might as well check that out. Yeah, they dropped me off kind of off the highway too. They're like, oh, it'll be easier to hitchhike on this other road, and it's usually never the case. Sometimes it is, but it's hard to, that common language is a little tricky. Luckily, I did get picked up by somebody. They weren't going far, but they offered to get me a coffee. Also did not speak English much, this guy. But yeah, he was going like 10 kilometers up. Offered to get a coffee. I was like, yeah, sure. And we got there. He's like, you hungry? Get some food too. So I'm like, all right. And it was like a random Italian restaurant at a gas station. This is my first culinary experience in Kosovo. Was gas station Italian calzone. And anyways, we're sitting there, and he makes a phone call while we're at the table, and then he hands me the phone. And my first thought is, people have done this before when I've been hitchhiking and stuff. They've like called a relative, a daughter or something who speaks decent English and translates one thing or another, so that's what I'm expecting. But get the voice, I'm like, get the phone, hear the voice, I'm like, hello? And like, hey, do you want to meet up in the morning in the city center sometime? I'm like, I guess, maybe. Who is this? Like, and they're like, oh, we're the largest news organization, or whatever they said, biggest news channel in Kosovo. And they wanted to hear about my travels. So I guess one way or another, I'd communicated to the guy that I'd been traveling for a while, and that was enough for him to call this news guy that put him on the news, because I guess he's done some stuff in Ukraine. So he knew the number to call. Anyways, I'm like, alright, this is random, but this kind of shit has happened before, like Ireland, if you know that story. Me going to all the Flannery pubs and winding up on the news. So I'm like, alright, this could be a random little wrinkle. So took down his number, finished up the calzone. The guy drove me like 5 minutes more up the road, and yeah, to start walking. And then I got picked up by a taxi, not knowing it at first. Not until I was in the car for like 5 minutes, because there's like a few people in there. Driver, another guy up front, and a woman in the back. And then the guy mentioned he was a taxi. I was like, oh shit. If you're a taxi, you're probably expecting money, and I have none. So do with that information what you will. I don't care if you kick me out. But yeah, they're just like, I don't know, how can you not have any money? And kept driving me a little bit, but then finally they saw someone else on the side of the road. so that person took my spot. So I was still like 10 kilometers from the city center, which is not too bad. It's like a 2-hour walk, but I was like, damn, so close. So I walked the 2K to the center, and yeah, I was just kind of checking out the city there. And once again, I'm like, fuck, it's already dark. I'm in the middle of the city center. This is usually what I try to avoid, is like arriving in the middle of the city, like at dark, but sometimes it happens. So once again, I looked up what the cheapest hostel was. It was €7. I'm like, all right. If I don't get a hostel, I'm going to go sit down somewhere and get a beer. And after I have a beer, I'll drink another. And that'll end up being €7, right? So I'm like, might as well take up the hostel, which ended up being free, as it turns out. So I got to the hostel and felt more like an apartment with like a room with some bunks in it. It's kind of chill. Met the dude. It felt more like a couch surfing kind of experience right away at first, just like talking to him, and asked if I wanted coffee, and then it's like, you want to pay now? And I was like, sure. I'm like, I got a card, is that okay? Which I check for on the site because it can be an issue sometimes. And he's like, yeah, I got card reader thing on my phone, but it didn't work, and it wasn't, yeah, I don't know, the app wasn't working. So he's like, we'll try it again later. And yeah, it just ended up never working. But yeah, he's like, I'm gonna go get a coffee with a friend or whatever, and we'll try again later in the morning. It's like, all right, cool. So I'm like, all right, I'm still like awake. Need to get a beer in Kosovo. Those are the rules. So I went to a place called the Beer Garden. I think. Let me take a sip of beer here. Yeah, I think it was called Beer Garden or something extremely similar to that. So I walked in there, and I kind of noticed someone like sort of check me out as I was walking through, or just eyeball me. It's like, all right, didn't think much of it, but that guy kind of followed me in. He was an American guy, and I was ordering a beer. They had a pumpkin beer and an IPA and some other stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. So I grabbed the IPA, and that guy who sort of watched me come in was just like, hey, do you mind if I join you for some conversation? I was like, ah, cool. Yeah, I haven't had a fluent conversation in some weeks at this point. Like, actually, it had been weeks since I'd had like a real fluent English conversation. Sometimes that happens. Because, all through Turkey even, I'd have to go back to, even the host I stayed with in Istanbul, like, his English was certainly good enough, but not fluent. I'd have to go far back to even think of the last freewheeling English conversation. Now I can't, it might have been more than 2 weeks. Yeah, somewhere back in Georgia. But anyways, I was like, yeah, definitely. So just chatting him up, and he's asking me about my story. He's telling me how he had a divorce and met some girl in Germany on Tinder who's from Thailand, and he's seeing her now, but he's got the same deal as me with the Schengen visa. You can only stay 90 out of 180, so he's kind of hiding out in Kosovo. Kosovo turns out to be like real cheap, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. There's people from all over, like just doing whatever. Kind of a crazy place, an interesting place to go for sure if you just want to meet a bunch of random people that are up to things. Different hustles. Like even the guy who owned the hostel was from he was from Turkey. Yeah, there's people from all over, and cheap. Like cheeseburgers, for example, €2 or €3. You might end up paying 5 or 6, like in the city center or some super touristy place. But usually you can get like a cheeseburger for a couple euros. So that's why he was there, and I was just telling him my thing, and he ended up buying beers for the rest of the night, which is cool, because I was just going to pop in there for token craft beer, wander back to the hostel, but instead we stayed there even after it closed. They just turned off the lights, shut the whole place down, and let us stay out there on the in the front there, finishing those beers. So that was cool. I got back to the hostel. There's some Turkish guys staying there. I ended up shooting the shit with them for like an hour or so. Saw the owner again, and he's like, yeah, the app's just not working. He's like, I don't really care. He's like, just leave me a good review and we'll call it good. It's all, you don't have to pay. So it was a free night at the hostel. That was pretty cool. Good hostel too. Right in the middle of the center. Like I said, if had I paid, it would have been €7. So that's not so bad. And yeah, obviously the owner is pretty cool for that little bit of leeway. So yeah, good night's sleep. Crashed out, and I wanted to go to, what's the place called? It's the name of their beer there. Peja. Peja. I was like, let me at least check that place out quick before going to Albania. I'd already eyeballed like a hike possible in Albania. Yeah, I'll tell you about that in a second. Yeah, just making the loop slowly to Austria. But everything timed out perfect. As it's worked out, we take a sip of beer here. Oh shit, I didn't even mention the news. Yeah, so that morning when I woke up in the hostel, texted the news guy, and yeah, he got the news reporter girl and a cameraman, and they showed up not far from the hostel. Actually, it was like a 2-minute walk. Like I said, that hostel's like right in the center of things. I think it's called the Center Hostel or Center House, Center House or Center Hostel. If you're ever in Kosovo, it's a place I recommend staying if you're gonna stay in a hostel. Yeah, so I went and I met this like pretty girl. Who was just like, dream was to be a journalist, and now she's doing it. I guess. Talking to a random like hobo from America, traveling through. So yeah, they set up the camera real quick, and just she asked me a few questions, and then spent another like 10 minutes walking around with her for B-roll, filming that, and in that time I was just asking her what's going on in Kosovo, what her deal was. So yeah, did that and wandered on out of. I kind of wanted to stick around, Had I had a little bit more time this go around, or felt like skipping Albania and all that, might have stayed another night. But yeah, kept it moving. Hitchhiked to Peja fairly easily. Yeah, I think it was just two 18-wheeler rides back to back, actually. Yeah, it was. One 18-wheeler ride to a junction. That guy was cool. He's like, if you're ever in my town, let's drink some beer. And I almost thought I would be later that night. Didn't work out that way. But then another 18-wheeler took me just like 1 kilometer from the brewery. I wanted to go, so it was Peja Brewery. And even though I knew it had to be like a big commercial, it's their Bud Light or whatever, I'm like, be cool just to go there, check it out. But it turned out to be freaking gigantic, like a massive factory sized brewery, huge, and not open to the public in any kind of way that I could discern. Certainly no tap room or something. So I was like, oh, okay. So there's that. So ended up just spending the night around there in Peja, just sort of gearing up for the next day to hitch down to Albania. So when I looked on the different ways I could possibly snake through all these countries and eventually go back up through Croatia to Austria, so it's like gap in the road. I'm like, that's annoying. Why can't I just go that way? Be so much quicker. So I zoomed in. I'm like, I think I could walk here. Looks like there's even a legit hiking trail. Just like 1 10-kilometer stretch, So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do that. So turned out to be the best hike I've been on in a while. So yeah, hitched. Sip of beer. Hitched on out of Kosovo, bit by bit. Another guy went and stopped and got me coffee. A lot of awesome people past couple months. I think just Turkey, the Balkans, it's like pretty standard, like parting ways while hitchhiking, like let's just get a coffee real quick. So that's how it went. And let's see, yeah, I was trying to remember like exactly what rides I got exactly to the border, but Oh yeah, someone drove me over the border once again, and well, someone gave me a ride to the border, and then on the other side, actually, a few people drove me over the mountains to the next town, and then it was like a couple short rides getting to Valbona, which is where the hike kind of started. And yeah, tagged on an extra like 5 or more kilometers just because I didn't get quite to the quote trailhead. But it was awesome. So the leaves were all changing. It was like pretty much peak time of year to be crossing that way. So yeah, just gorgeous. Into the mountains. I posted some stuff on Instagram, Hobo Lifestyle. Just, yeah, just what I needed. So I walked through all that, just getting steeper until getting to the top. And then there's like a fake top, kind of. So there's a few other people on this trail coming the opposite direction. And then at the top, there's like 3 people already up there. And super, like a pinhead top, like literally 3 of us standing at the peak of this thing, like, was borderline not safe, I was like, and then I'm like, oh, there's like another peak, like a little higher than here. And I guess no one wanted to go out of the way to get to that spot, but I did. So it was awesome. I just kind of hung out. It was like an extra 20 minutes to, hike around and climb up to get up to that. And that was just awesome. I could see in both directions where I'd come from, the way I was going. Just surrounded by mountains still. It's absolutely gorgeous. It was super cool. So, yeah, finally started hiking down, just kind of thinking, should I try to camp up in the mountains still? Should I get all the way to this town? Every so often there's like a little actual campsite sort of thing, especially like lower down elevation. At least this the way I came up, like people had clearly gotten property and threw up a couple tables hoping to, get money for beer and coffee and let people sleep on the ground. So I'm like, I wonder how much, like, I don't want to wake up and someone's like, this is my campground. You mean this random patch of dirt in the middle of nowhere? You son of a bitch. I just didn't want to deal with that. And then it got dark, but I got like pretty much to the town on the other side, but camped right by the river there, still in a good hidden little spot, just drinking straight from the river. The water is so good there in Albania. Beautiful. Kind of a cold night. Not too bad. Not as bad as what's coming up. I'll tell you that at the end. Ooh, what's next is going to be a little bit of an adventure this coming week. We'll see how this goes. But, yeah, got up, walked through the town, hitched a ride from a French guy. Sip a beer here again. Delicious. It's a big gulp. Yeah, so this French guy was pretty chill, just on like a solo road trip mission. I'd rented a car there. He was telling me about he's got a plan to go to Thailand here in a few months, for a couple months to do some MMA training. He was chill. He got me more into out of the mountains anyways, and finally dropped me off there where he was turning, getting me a little bit closer to the border. Then some random guy on the street gave me a couple pomegranates. I was like, that's cool. And then a German couple picked me up. Pretty nice. German couple from Hanover, just on a big road trip themselves, going through the Balkans mostly. They gave me a ride over the border into Montenegro, where I finally had a Trust Routes host lined up for the first night in like a week or whatever. So I was excited to see him, meet somebody. Where they dropped me off, I still needed like 2 more rides to get down to Herceg Novi. That's the name of this town. So I've been through this area before, and Kotor is kind of like the more touristy, but also beautiful spot. Touristy for a reason kind of spots. I didn't go there this time because I've been there before, but it was the same kind of vibe, just on the water, boardwalk, mountains in the background. Pretty beautiful spot. Host there was a Russian guy. Into IT, so he was at his computer like the whole time, pretty much. Ended up when I first met up with him, he's like, yeah, I'm just working from the moment I wake up till when I go to sleep, but I'll have an hour off here in a bit. So I popped in the shower, and when I popped out, there was another girl in the room I was staying in, so he was hosting someone else, Estonian girl. So I ended up talking to her for like an hour or two until he finally got some time off, and yeah, went and grabbed some food. And yeah, the next day, I was going to stay for a couple nights there, walked around the town a bunch. Obviously, I found a brewery. It was better than some of the stuff I'd had recently, so that was cool. Place called the Drunk Octopus. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, and then when I got back to his place, he had two more people there. Some couple, I forget exactly where they're from. One was from Spain anyways, but they were cycling to Australia. So, taking a plane every now and again to get over the water and stuff. So, yeah, they were chill. Another night, just some good food and a couple grocery store beers. And finally, I was like, alright, next stop in Bosnia, which is pretty much going to be the last stop before the final push to Vienna, Austria, where I needed to be and where I am. So success. Spoiler. A little more beer there. This guy's texting me now. Okay, that's not important. Yeah, so Bosnia. Yeah, so slightly rainy day, but I'm like, I gotta go for it. Luckily, it didn't like dump rain. A couple short rides, get up the little mountain there. Another older German couple building a house and stuff, and not too bad, really. And then some more rides, UK couple in a van, and then another older UK couple in a van got me to Mostar, Bosnia. And I was kind of thinking I could get like to the very north of Bosnia, just to put me in better position to get to Vienna. But yeah, by the time the day was kind of slow in between all the rides, so by the time I got to Mostar, it's already like, it wasn't dark yet, but it was, I don't know, 4 p.m., 5 p.m. So I was like, maybe I just chill here. I should certainly get a beer. So I found a brewery, and pretty good. Freaking brewery, like right in the center of things, and beers were like €2. So I was like, okay, I'm like in Mostar. And I've been there before, actually. Not to that brewery, but to that town. But it's been like 7 years ago. So it's like, this is cool. But once again, I found myself in a city where they're getting dark, and it's like, alright, could try to camp here again. It's like it might rain again. So once again, I looked at the hostel situation, and it was like €9 for a hostel. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm doing it again. Just burning money. Like, might as well. When I'm burning it, might as well get the fire really going. Oh man, I just keep thinking about tomorrow. Anyways, yeah, this turned out to be pretty good. Because I didn't have any cash. Oh no, the hostel was €12. I remember because there was a hostel for €9 and 10 and 11, but all of those said cash only, and I had no cash. So I'm like, alright, I gotta get the expensive one. But I think I found like an inadvertent travel hack for any solo travelers out there, because this hostel was nothing but girls. That was it. The guy running the place was a guy, because I just said that, and he was super chill, because yeah, he was just cool. He's just like, I've been sleeping all day, I just woke up. I don't know, ended up like having some beer with him later, but yeah, so I got in there, and there was just like this super cool Australian girl, this German girl on the first trip that she's done, some Canadian girls just on her own doing her thing. Yeah, just someone from the UK, and she was actually volunteering there, and I was like, there wasn't a single other guy there. And I think maybe why is because the rating of the place was so high, and it like wasn't the cheapest place. Because I don't know, I always go for the cheapest hostel, and I don't care if they're like, bed bugs will come in the middle of the night and kill you and rape your family. I'm like, but it's 50 cents cheaper, so I'm going there. I don't know. I think a lot of fucking scumbags or something just have the same mentality I do. And a lot of like respectable travel girls are probably like, yeah, I'll pay 3 extra euros for like this place with a 9.5 rating or whatever. Like, yes, please. So yeah, maybe do that more often. Anyways, it was super fun. Ended up chatting them up for quite a while, and then they wanted to go out drinking, a handful of them, so I was like, yeah, I'll go do that. Which almost didn't work out because, again, it was like a cash-only bar, but this one girl gave me a bunch of marks, which is like the currency there in Bosnia, and I had pounds, so I don't know, finagled stuff. I got a bunch of rando currency in my bag. So the next day I had to give her pounds, British pounds, and that balanced it out. But beers were $2 each, basically. So yeah, just hung out. The owner of the hostel came out, and yeah, met a bunch of random people. Crashed out, felt good, woke up. Once again, I was like, man, it'd be nice to stay here again. This town is cool. All these people in this hostel are cool. But yeah, I had to keep it moving. So wandered around the town a little bit, but finally started walking out. Got a ride from a guy who was heading to the border, and he actually gave me a ride pretty close. And then another guy was going over the border, didn't speak any English, but we got over the border into Croatia. So it was finally the day. Croatia's in the Schengen zone, but finally it was the exact day where I could come back in. So yeah, and then we rocked up to a bus station, and I'm like, oh shit, this guy think I needed a bus? Like, so, and he's like, coffee? I'm like, oh, okay, grab a coffee. So we go up, and then we meet his friend who had just gotten off a bus that he was picking up. So that's why he'd come over at the border, was to pick up his buddy, and his buddy spoke English. And instead of coffee, it was a couple beers. So yeah, a couple beers with them, shooting the shit. His buddy had just been in Germany, but he's lived in St. Louis at one point. The Bosnian guy. Yeah, so shot the shit with them. And then finally got moving. Yeah, destination Vienna at this point. No stops except for beer. You know, the mission was to get to Vienna by the next day, which at this point is yesterday. I'll take a sip of beer. So, but yeah, it slowed way down. Starting with getting the beers with those guys. But then I walked from there to the highway, which is like a couple kilometers away, just to find out that there's this big toll booth with pretty well-marked signs. No walking, no auto stop. Auto stop's the word for hitchhiking over here. Yeah, big toll booth, and I was like, man. Thought about just confidently walking through it, because there's nobody getting on there. Nobody was going through that toll booth. We were in the middle of nowhere. So I was like, fuck. So I was like, alright, let me walk back, and I'll just take this parallel road. And that was slow. One guy picked me up, gave me like a 10-kilometer ride. It's already like getting close to sunset. From where he dropped me off, I'm like, fuck it, let me see if I can walk back to the highway from here. Maybe there's no toll booth. There was, but it was just as empty. I'm like, there's no way anyone's working this toll booth. Like, this has got to be fully automated, or maybe there's a person or two working here, but I just got to take a chance. So I just walked right through, right onto the Autobahn, right onto the highway. No one saw me, no one said anything, and luckily, right as the sun was going down, I got picked up by a couple going to the Netherlands, all the way to the Netherlands. The girl was from the Netherlands, the dude is from Montenegro, and he was moving there to be with her. So I was like, oh, sweet. So I rode with them for 3 or 4 hours into the dark until they finally had to go left. I was going to go right. So walked around for a while until I found a place to camp. Camped out. Fairly easily. A lot of fences along the highway made it a little difficult, but found a spot. Yeah, woke up that morning, yesterday morning. Stuck my thumb out right on the highway. There was like a little bit of a pullout right before a tunnel. So usually I just like keep walking, but the tunnel held back. Luckily I got a ride within 5 or 10 minutes from a woman who was going. And at this point I'm a 5-hour drive from Vienna. So I'm feeling pretty confident that I'll make it to Vienna that day, where I had a host set up. So that was certainly the goal. This woman was going to Zagreb in Croatia. She was Croatian, working for the military. Probably a 50-something-year-old woman. Yeah, that was kind of interesting. Her English was okay. She kind of sounded like a gypsy, and she was like, I don't know, big into the big players, you know, like running the world and controlling everything. And America needs to get their spirituality in check before evil takes over. You know, one of those kind of one-way conversations for the most part. So I was just entertaining that until we got to Zagreb. She was nice enough, but yeah, she dropped me off on the outskirts, and that's where I waited for like 3 hours, and I was actually starting to think, fuck, I might not make it to Vienna today, which would not be the end of the world, but it would have been a pain in the ass. Yeah, just walking along the Autobahn the whole time, the highway, which you're not supposed to do, really, especially around here, but it's kind of the only option at that point. And yeah, it's the most frustrating. It's not the time that's frustrating when hitchhiking if you go a few hours without a ride. It's the number of cars that passes you, you know. So if you're walking in the middle of nowhere for a few hours and like 10 cars pass you in that 3 hours, it's like, I don't know, sometimes it's not so bad. But when you're walking 3 hours and there's like 20 cars passing you every minute, no, maybe more than that, like dozens of cars passing you every minute with plenty of room to pull over, and that gets a little frustrating. Sometimes you're like, am I visible? Am I alive? Like, what's going on? You're just like hoping that someone will give you the middle finger or something, or shout at you, or prove that you're actually existing. So that went on for, yeah, a few hours until finally someone gave me a ride. They were only going like 10 minutes, but I took that 10-minute ride. I was like, all right, that's something. And then finally another guy gave me a ride and got to Austria, to the border, but he sort of took me off the highway. But I'm like, all right, at least I'm in Austria now, like 2-ish hours away. I got another ride from a couple from Kenya and Belgium. They were cool, but again, another 10-minute ride, and then a guy gave me a ride up to Graz, which is the city, the last big city before Vienna. So, yeah, a little less than 2 hours drive from there to Vienna. But he dropped me off in a weird spot. Take a sip up here. So again, I had no choice but to walk up on the Autobahn, on the highway, or else the sun would have gone down. I just would have been stuck there, you know? Like, no one was really getting on this particular on-ramp. So yeah, I walked on the little feeder highway to the main Autobahn, and then boom, this guy picked me up. Guy's name Ben, whatever that's worth. Thank you, Ben. And that was pretty funny because he was I don't know, he's probably like 22 or something, about to start his first big job, and is on his way not to Vienna but close, and it looked like so close. Like, real close, actually. Like, the way he'd be skirting around Vienna. He was basically going to Vienna. That close. So I was like, oh, fuck yeah. Alright. Even if I gotta walk the last, like, 5 or 10 kilometers, that's not so bad. Where he drops me off. So, but, like, right when I got in the car, we were chatting, and then he'd been listening to the radio, and then all of a sudden he, like, paused for a second. He turned it up, and, you know, I couldn't understand. It wasn't in English. And then he's like, They interrupted the radio to say that someone's walking on the highway, but don't worry, the police are coming. So I was on the radio in Austria too. He's like, I wonder if that was you. I'm like, dude, of course that's me. You just saved me from the police, dude. Who else is backpacking on the highway right now? So yeah, it's pretty awesome. Had he not picked me up, the police would have gotten me like 5 or 10 minutes later, and who knows how bad or whatever that would have been. But the fact that they interrupted the radio to be like, look out, dude on the highway, police are coming. It's kind of goofy. So, anyways, we kept on cruising, and then, his GPS changed, maybe because of traffic conditions or whatever, but told him to go a different way. So all of a sudden, like, the sun is setting, and he's dropping me off like 25 kilometers from the city. I'm like, damn it, that's like so close but so far kind of distance, Fuck. But luckily, quickest ride of the day, within 2 minutes, couple scooped me up, and they were going into the city. Not only that, they're like, what address should we pop into our GPS? So worked out perfect. Like I said, I had the host lined up. He got off work a couple hours later, so actually I had some time to play around a little bit. Went to the closest little pub to his place, and he met me there. Had a beer, went back to his place. He's got another friend in town. Met her. She's super cool. So talked to her a bunch. She's into all this DNA centrifuge talk and stuff, biomolecular kind of stuff. He's into cybersecurity, so yeah, just a fun conversation. Chat with them, eating some food, and then I was super tired because the night before camping was actually like pretty cold. Didn't sleep super good, so slept real good last night. Woke up today and just headed out into the city. It's been a while since I've been in Vienna, so just checking out all the stuff. The place I'm at now, it's just pretty epic. So, got some case griner, just like the cheese sausage kind of thing. Super good here. And gonna meet up with them later at some beer bar. I think that's the message I've been ignoring since I'm talking to y'all. I have to check. Probably the next couple hours here. And and then it's on to the next thing. So let me tell you about what the next thing is, because this next week could be a little shaky, but I'm still excited about it. I'll tell you about it. All right, so Vienna, Austria, and the whole point of coming here was it was the cheapest flight to Iceland. So it's just like weird travel finance math to go via Iceland. So I got that ticket. It is tomorrow night, and I'll be there for like a week, 8 days. And what I found out since getting the ticket is that there's not many people on Trust Routes, Be Welcome, and couchers over there. And it's also like pretty cold. I've been looking at the weather, and it's dipping below freezing every night. It's already like snowing over there, so it's gonna be a little bit interesting. Trying to camp there because my camping gear, sleeping bag and bivvy, like I'm good to just about freezing and maybe freezing, but at that point I'm like surviving. I'm not really sleeping. I'm just in there trying to stay warm and probably not sleeping much at all. So that's gonna be tricky. I'm hoping bit by bit it works out. I was also a little bit worried because my flight gets in at in Iceland just after midnight, and from what I've heard, like they're real militant about sleeping in the airport there, because that was my first thought. I'm like, all right, well, I'll get in there just after midnight. I'll just find a place to sleep. Come daylight, I'll start making moves. But it seems like that won't be an option, but that has been solved, I think. So I originally got one message back from someone in the south of the island who said they can host me for one night. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. That's one night. Doesn't sound like they'll be able to hang out much, or if at all, but at least a warm place to stay. And then finally yesterday, I got a message back from a dude who lives in Reykjavik, the main city there. And he said he could host me at least for the first couple nights I'm in town. And then I broke the news to him, like, that first night, like, I don't get in until after midnight, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to get there at all that night. And he's like, whatever. Here's my address. I've got a weird sleep schedule. The doorbell will wake me up, and I don't care. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I guess what that means is basically I got to hitchhike post-midnight from the airport to his place. I don't even think the buses run, so it's not even like a money situation. Which leads me to the other point, which could be an issue, is that Iceland is supposed to be crazy expensive. Like craft beer could be 18 euros, like $20 a beer, which basically means I will not be drinking any beer, or maybe I'll drink one or something, you know. I don't know. We'll see how this is going to work out. Also means food is going to be expensive, everything. So it's going to be tricky. We'll see. Yeah, so my idea is just to do like a hitchhiking lap around the island. And yeah, maybe I'll meet some people along the way. Maybe it won't be exactly freezing cold. But besides the financial and survival aspects of it, you know, I've heard Iceland is epic. I think it's going to be my first real shot at seeing the Northern Lights. Could be possible. Excited for that. So, yeah. Should work out one way or another. So, yeah, that's what's next. That's what's happening. I'm excited to have a beer with these guys here in a couple hours. That's going to be fun, too. But I hope you guys are doing awesome. I'll catch you up on the next one. Maybe in Iceland. We'll see. See who I meet. Don't forget to check out that Magic Mind stuff. magicmind.com/freestyle show. The code freestyle show 20. Check that out. Get focused. And yeah. Somewhere in the next couple episodes I'll have more details about that trip hopping collective coming up. Because yeah, try to dial in an actual dates here soon, and yeah, see if we can get a couple of people who want to come hang out, brew some beer, and work on the site one way or another, either doing research or helping me code or whatever you're good at. So that's what's up. Keep on kicking, and I will see you down the road.
To hell with plans I made, I need a new escape. With all my shit straight, I'll get my big brain.